Jay Will, what was your primary takeaway from watching the first 2 episodes last night?
I think there's just so many layers, Greeny, to this story that, I've been able to pay attention to, but I didn't know the nuances of the story. And one of the personal, relationships I have in the story is with Jerry Krause. Jerry Krause and I were really, really good friends. And he used to talk to me about some of the mistakes that he had made in managing that relationship with Michael Jordan. Now, look, I'm never comparing myself to Michael Jordan, but I think the relationship that I have between Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause, I would hear these guys talk about, how to build up a winning culture. And that came from communication. And there were just so many egos that were in that locker room. And I guess that was my takeaway last night is that, I knew a completely different Jerry Krause, and I also knew the softer side of Jerry. So was there a competitive side of him? Yes. But there's also Phil Jackson wanted to get paid the biggest money he did. You had these issues with Scottie Pippen and their battles. And it's just interesting to see how those nuances imploded essentially compared to when I came in there. You just felt those hallways were just forever haunted by the uncharted standard of excellence that no team could ever reach. And you felt that density in the atmosphere every time you stepped through them inside the United Center.
That's extremely well said. I knew Krause very well 25 years ago. And what I will say is, A, it is a travesty that he didn't get into the Hall of Fame while he was still alive. He was inducted posthumously. That is a disgrace to him, and it's a shame for his family because he absolutely deserved it. Much of the negativity, however, that was aimed at him, he definitively brought on himself. And there just isn't any debating that. And it's interesting for me to hear you say, because this is not a conversation I had the chance to have with him, that he recognized that after the fact, because he did not strike me as someone who would have understood that. He was so standoffish, he was so stubborn that he felt like a guy who was going to stand his ground. So you're telling me that years later, he talked about having made mistakes in those relationships.
Yeah, agreed. He just talked about how he could have done things better and that he had learned from his time being with Jordan and Pippen and Phil Jackson and managing not only their egos, but more importantly, his own ego. So yeah, and those teams, man, back then, look, I had to deal with Corvette. I remember coming up and parking in the same spot Michael Jordan parked in and just having that feeling of how special that team was. And look, I heard you guys originally talking about, LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I will say this, like, to each their own. Michael Jordan lifted you, but it was almost like in battle. And if you weren't willing to pull yourself out of the trenches, Michael Jordan would take his foot, step it on your helmet, and reach his hand to the next person that wanted to fight their way out. So it was either get on my standard of excellence and start trying to achieve what I want to achieve, or if you don't, I don't got time for you. And that paid dividends. That's how they won 6 championships.
KD saying Michael Jordan might even be better if he played in the league today. Jay Will, what did you think of that?
Well, I mean, look, we started digging in stats in that segment with KD, and I recognized that the best shooting percentage Jordan had, I think, was 96-97 from the three-point line, which is 42.7% from the line. He took his second highest total of his career in three-point shot attempts at around 275. Just to give you perspective, the highest he ever took was 280. The highest that Stephen Curry has ever taken was 886. Okay, so Jordan, career 32.3 three-point percent shooter. I think he could have worked on that aspect of his game. And look, that was the only thing we literally itemized, Greeny, all of his attributes, and every attribute that Jordan had, from ball handling to mid-range jump shooting to competitive to IQ to vision. Everything was either a 1 or a 0, ranking like 1 being the best, 0 obviously being above the best. The only thing that was subpar was his three-point shooting. But in today's game, if Jordan had acclimated to this style of play, yeah, he would have been probably the best player in the league. The only person I could see actually defending Jordan is Kawhi Leonard when Kawhi Leonard is healthy, and Kawhi Leonard is load managing, and Jordan never load managed. So yes, I do agree with Kevin Durant that Jordan would be probably the most prolific scorer in the history of the game, even if he were playing today, because the amount of possessions are unlimited.
He would be even more prolific, candidly. You just said the most important thing. Michael would have played all 82 games. You never know. Whoever was guarding him might have chosen that night to load manage. And the other piece of it that I will say here is that episodes 3 and 4 will come next week. And episode 4 focuses on the bad boy Pistons. And what you will see, for those who do not know, is that every member of that team would have been suspended for the season for practically everything they did on every possession of those games. If Michael Jordan played in a game where it was refereed the way it is played today, Michael Jordan would have averaged 8 to 10 more points per game for his career. It is just that simple.
But Greeny, I do want to say one other thing, though, and I want to give Kevin Durant some love on this one, because I think it gets overlooked when you think about Michael Jordan. Like Michael Jordan, his first couple years, I mean, he was put on the show, dancing, dribbling the ball a lot, scoring points at will, at his own will. But he truly got unlocked in the triangle. And from somebody that has participated in that offense, it was particularly built for guys like Michael Jordan, and you saw Kobe Bryant really his game elevate from it, because they put him in a position where he minimized all of his risk. There was no wasted motion in Michael Jordan's game, and it was unlocked by Phil Jackson. So I just want to give Phil Jackson, Tex Winters, and the Triangle some love there, because it just took Michael Jordan's game to a completely different stratosphere.
Yes, and Jerry too. Jerry was the one who first saw the genius in what Tex was doing and brought it there. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.